there, ghosts and ghouls. Warlock Boo here, and I got a story for you. Have any of you ever been to those big church potlucks? Ever wonder where all the food comes from? You really may want to wonder after this story where maybe certain things came from and make sure it's from a reliable source. This story is the Strawberry Epidemic of '82 by JacobMielke. Enjoy. The Strawberry Epidemic of '82. That's what people had come to call the tragedy that affected my childhood town in the summer of 1982. I was 16 back then, and I thought the world was my oyster. I came from one of those wealthy families in town. I was popular in and out of school. My mother was on the fast track to becoming mayor. Youth and privilege can be a bad combination, but I think the worst to come of it, in my case, was naivety. I didn't think anything horrible could happen to me or my friends and loved ones. The local church was sponsoring a charity event that summer, though I'm not sure how much of it counts as a charity. Use the money to buy new pews and give the pastor a raise. They collected a massive amount of food from various farmers in the area, and then for $10 donation, people were welcome to eat as much as they wanted. Someone had donated lots of strawberries to the church function, crates and crates of them. As a result, they were the most abundant available food there. My family made an appearance, of course. We were the pedigree of the town, and it was important for us to be seen at every major event. My mother donated generously, probably under the impression that the more she gave, the more votes she could snag in the mayoral election. Politics. Got to love them. We didn't eat anything there, however, and that was probably what saved us. Though my mother made a big deal of supporting local farmers, all of our food was shipped to us by private companies specializing in catering to those who could afford it. She explained to me that the fresh produce grown on small farms was more likely to be of lower quality and plagued by pest and disease. Today, I know she probably just didn't want to eat with the same food as the poor people. Nearly every person at the function ate some strawberries. The children gorged themselves on them, especially after the church provided small bowls of sugar for them to dip the strawberries in. I saw one girl who'd stuffed her face with so many of them, her mouth and hands were stained red. She reminded me of one of those old vampire movies, where the vampires were messy with the blood when they killed their prey. Everything was fine for about a week after the function. Then one night, little Billy Appleton was admitted to the hospital. Later in life, I found copies of the medical transcript from that night. He was so malnourished and underweight, the doctors instantly called the CPS, assuming that his parents weren't feeding him. And other symptoms began to appear. Small yellow boils popped up everywhere on his body. Over the next few weeks, those boils would swell to the size of golf balls. Another kid came in with the same symptoms later that day, and another. After around a dozen sick kids came in, the elderlies began to show up as well. Nobody panicked for a few days, although the rash of sick people was the talk of the town. Rumors flew as to the cause. Some were plausible, a new strain of chickenpox, and others were downright silly. The government was testing biological weapons on American heartlanders. But everyone had a theory. Nobody made the connection to the strawberries until an older woman fell ill a week after the others. She'd taken some strawberries home with her from the church and ate them after most people were gone. After telling the doctors about it, someone realized that all the kids and elderly people had eaten strawberries at the church function. They sent samples of the strawberries away to be tested. The public was never told what the results were. All I know is that a few days after the samples were sent, and about 2.5 weeks after the first patient was admitted, the CDC and National Guard rolled in our town to the truckload. We were placed under quarantine. No one was allowed in or out of the town. All of the remaining strawberries from this church was confiscated. Every citizen was required to submit blood tests. No one was told what plagued our town. After about 2 months or so, during which 30 people died in hospitals and were cremated without the family's consent, the government left our town. The official story told in the national news was that the new and deadly strain of E. coli from contaminated strawberries was responsible. Almost no one in our town believed that, but no one was interested in our version of things. No reporters came looking for interviewed, and all attempts by the locals to tell their story in newspapers or on televisions failed. The blogs some of us had taken to writing were swept away into the ash bin of conspiracy theorists and Bigfoot hunters. I am over 50 years old now. I've never told anyone my version of things until now. See, I know what caused the strawberry epidemic of '82, and it wasn't E. coli. It wasn't even bacterial. One day, a week after the government left our town, I was hiking in the woods when I caught sight of someone moving through the trees. I followed them to a creek in a secluded part of the woods and saw it was a girl of about my age. She threw herself into the creek, which was only waist deep, and began to drink the water like someone who just crossed the desert. I called out to her as I approached. When she raised her head and looked at me, I screamed. Her face and arms were covered in the same yellow boils as the people who ate the strawberries, only her boils were huge. They're about the size of tennis balls. The girl doesn't react to me except to blink and stare. After a minute of frozen terror, I noticed the water of the creek was clouding with yellow-red fluid. The girl's blisters were bursting while she stood in the water. What I saw next, I'll never forget as long as I live. When I lay on my dying bed, this image will inevitably pop into my head, though I will try hard to forget it. A boil on the girl's face burst, and a torrent of yellow pus and blood gushed forth. But as I watched, a huge white worm, nearly a foot long and as big around as a nightcrawler, wiggled from her boil and dropped into the water. I watched it drift down the creek. It and others like it. When I turned back to the girl, she had a glazed look in her eyes, like she was sleeping and forgot to close her eyelids. She inevitably collapsed into the water, and I watched the current carry her away. She never said a word to me. My research led me to learn her name. She was Betty Lannister, a girl who disappeared from my neighboring county a month before the church function and claimed so many lives. Her meth-head parents gave up on her quickly, and so did society. Since no one was looking for her at the time of the epidemic, she must have slipped through the quarantine by living in the woods. I don't know how she became infected. My guess is from eating strawberries someone threw out. I never told anyone about what I saw in the woods. Well, apart from my mother, who insisted I not tell anyone for fear of her bad publicity. There are so many unanswered questions to this day. No one knows who donated the strawberries to the function. The crates were left on the church's steps early in the morning. No one saw who dropped them off, and no one knows where they came from. No one knows why the epidemic only affected the young and very old. Why it never happened anywhere else afterwards. I should have said something sooner. Mother's publicity career be damned, but I was affected. I was young and confused, and by the time I was ready to come out with what I'd seen, it was years too late. So I'm telling the story now, while I still can. And there's a reason why I'm coming forth now. The other day, I was at a farmer's market, and I saw a baby gnawing on a strawberry. Maybe it was just a trick of the light, my own scared imagination. But I swear I saw something white wiggling at the corner of the baby's mouth. So, my ghoulies, those fruits sounded bloody good. Oh, but that is fucking terrifying. I mean, I have kids, and they like strawberries. This unnerves me so much. I have to go destroy strawberries in my fridge now. So, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go. You can hit that like button and subscribe. And till then, this has been Warlock Boo, and go smash the strawberries in my fridge. So, hope to be spooking y'all soon. Bye. I found you!
No! No!